I'm Moshe,
And I'm Polly.
and this is
The Human
Collective. Tonight on the show, we have an incredibly special guest, a transsexual patriot and self-proclaimed miracle of redemption. God-loving and conservative Kristy Greczkowski joins the Human Collective for an in-depth conversation tonight on the realities both good and grim of the LGBTQ community. Kristy is an activist and a voice for her people, and we are so pleased to have you here tonight. Kristy, how are you?
I am perfect. Both of you, Polly and Moshe, I want to thank you both absolutely for this opportunity to help me break through the muzzle. I am one of the most censored transgender women in America, and through this show, I hope we can educate to your viewers as to why. I'm someone who's very unique. I've traveled the entire spectrum of gender and sexuality regarding ideology and political ideology. I'm probably one of the most wisest in the nation on this, and I'm happy to educate your viewers and my base, the conservative Christian base, what's going on here. I hope we have a great in-depth conversation. I hope you challenge me with tough questions, and I hope that our viewers come in as well. I hope this opportunity is a tool set which I can pass on to our viewers to help protect their American liberty. And I'm glad to be here. And I want to say I love my president. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now, Kristy, let's start with something light. Let's talk a little bit about you. So, Polly and I are actually meeting you pretty much for the first time tonight as well. So we don't know much about you. So where are you from? First of all, where are you from? What state do you come from?
I currently live in Alabama. I just moved to Huntsville, Alabama about 3 months ago, where I resided in New England for the majority of my life. I was in Providence, Rhode Island for about 5 to 6 years prior to that. Well, and the rest of my life in Connecticut.
So originally an East Coast girl.
I'm an East Coast girl all the way, absolutely. I just moved down to the South now.
How do you like, I lived in the South for a little while. I was in South Florida. But how do you like the contrast of being an East Coast person to now a Southern?
Girl.
Yeah.
Southern Belle.
Southern Belle.
Being transgender and LGBT, I assume that going down south, especially in the Bible Belt into Alabama, I may have been facing a lot of discrimination. But I'm going to tell you it's the absolute opposite. I love it down here. I love it. I absolutely love it. I have a beautiful church family, a St. Matthew's Episcopal. Absolutely, if anybody's there, I love you people. Everyone down here is nothing but kind. Everyone down here is nothing but supportive. Everyone down here is absolutely fantastic. I cannot tell you enough how much I love Alabama. It's been the best move, one of the best decisions I ever made in my life was to move down here.
Alabama, is that considered the Deep South?
I am the Deep South. I am in the middle of the Bible Belt. In fact, I'm about 40 minutes from Scottsboro where the Civil Rights Movement started.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
So I'm smack dab in the middle, yes.
So it's a really historical town.
Well, Scottsboro is. If you ever heard the Scottsboro Boys, that's what started the Civil Rights Movement back in, I believe, the 50s and 60s. But yes, Huntsville is very famous as well. We are responsible for putting a man on the moon. Huntsville is the one that built the rockets. And then that's... If you look up Huntsville, we are one of the top growing cities in all of the nation right now. We've got, I think, $8 billion worth of commerce being pumped into the area. A lot of that has to do with defense and has to do with the rocket defense with our military. It's very, very techie town. It's not as southern as you think in Huntsville. It's a big mixing pot, and it's a bunch of people, and it's really growing and exploding. It's a great place. If you ever get a chance, come on down. I'm like 10 minutes from the airport, so you guys ever want to visit, let me know.
Oh, we'd love to. Absolutely. I've never been to Alabama. Have you ever been to Alabama?
No.
Yeah, that's one of those states I might have passed through just traveling, but never stopped for no particular reason. But now, how did the Jim Crow laws affect that part of Alabama?
I don't know. I've been here 3 months, and I don't know back then. I mean, I really don't. I know it has this shady past of racism back in the past.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you it's 2020, and a lot of things have changed.
Oh,
it really
absolutely.
is. My neighbors, they're phenomenal. They're African American. There's no issues. It's not like anything I would imagine.
Now, are there a lot of transplants in the area that you live now, like people that came from other places? And yeah, that seems to be a common thread in the South now. When I lived in South Florida, I was in the Fort Lauderdale area, And I'd say 60 to 75% of the people that lived in that area were from somewhere else, mostly East Coast. A lot of East Coast people tend to either retire or migrate down south because of the weather.
Well, we get a lot of tech jobs. A lot of people from Northern California are migrating down here. We are getting a lot of the brainiacs in Northern California because California, the taxes are killing everybody. And that's one of the reasons I had moved as well. I was paying close to $8,000 a year in just property taxes on my house.
Oh, wow.
Down here, it's almost nothing. So you're getting a lot of people relocate down here because of the cost of living and the the policies of the Republican Party versus that of the Democratic Party.
Gotcha.
So you're getting a lot of people out of the blue coming down here now, currently.
Let me ask you this. Have you always been a Republican, or were you at one point Democrat or another party?
Absolutely not. I was never really politically active, and as we tell my story, I'll tell you the moment I did. When I first became very politically active is when I started understanding and learning the establishment from the inside out. And I first got politically active, I fell in love actually with Bernie Sanders, of all people. And back in 2015, it was late 2015, we first started coming up. I was a social justice warrior more for the left end.
Okay.
And I had my own website. I was known, I wasn't as Christian as I am now. I was a transgender adult promoter, but I was also a social justice warrior. And I went on to my own website at the time, and I went and I did a big page for Bernie, promoted him out the whole nine. I was so gung-ho for him. Yeah. And I went through my community, started promoting him. In fact, it was within about 7 hours later, his campaign personally thanked me. They messaged me through Twitter. And the next day, they came out for transgender rights. So no, I was not always a conservative. Absolutely not. Wow. But as I took my red pill, as I awoke into the truth of what's going on, I found my way over there.
Okay. So what year was that? Right after that that presidential election, that's when you sort of jumped ship and switched parties?
The day I switched parties was right after the primary when I voted for Bernie. I voted for Bernie and then I registered for Republican. And that was Dem Exit. I'm in Dem Exit that ended up following Trump into the anti-establishment. And as I listened more and followed and did all my research, I became a member of QAnon. That's another one where I just continually learned and learned and learned and learned. And I just really just spent the time and became politically motivated because of it. And I just became severely, severely obsessed with unearthing the truth.
So
and became addicted to the anti-establishment movement.
What drove you to do that, to start digging deeper? Because most people, they don't. I mean, their candidate didn't go through, and they kind of just go for the next best person.
Well, in order to get to there, we're going to have to go into my dark past. And I'm going to explain that to you.
Okay.
I came out in 2011. I was 32 years old. I came out as Kristy to my entire world. When I did, I ended up completely homeless. My family abandoned me. My friends abandoned me. I lost my career. I lost my job. I was living on the streets. And eventually, I found myself into the LGBT movement. I found myself into the party scene, the drug scene, the club scene. In 2014, my social justice warrior, my party, my openness, and who I was as a person, my transparency, and all that ended up getting me a position where I earned I was the promoter, manager, star, and pretty much I did all. Let's just say promoter of New England's first transgender strip club. I worked for Richard Chappie. Richard Chappie and the establishment put it this way. He's the man responsible for taking the Supreme Court all the way to the House and legalizing pornography in this nation. That was my boss. He's a good friend of Congressman David Cicilline, who's second in control of the DNC currently today.
Yeah, and with just a quick question for you. I remember I actually back in the day worked as a security bouncer in gentlemen's clubs, and I remember some of the dancers that were from the South told me that you actually have to register with, I guess, the chief of police, or you have to get an actual ID from the state, correct? Just to work in that type of establishment.
Over here, no. And when I worked there and I quit the job, I tried to collect unemployment, and they said, no, I wasn't even working there.
Oh,
they
really?
Just ran my ID personally. No, there was nothing. It was shady as can be.
I mean just to work in the industry. Actually, just to... Yeah. Oh, okay. So this is the only state that I know where that's the way it goes is in Georgia, specifically in Atlanta. You actually get an ID, like a state-issued ID, as being basically someone who works in the adult industry.
They should do that, and I believe that should be more regulated. While I was in the party scene, I was a social justice warrior. I was a complete, well, let's just say I was complete opposite of a Christian. One of the biggest aspects that became known for was my sexual health advocacy and my desire to clean up the inside the transgender sexual industry from the inside out. I try to get everybody tested and make sure they were positive. I led the way by making sure my status was publicly made every day. Every 3 months or so, I post my status publicly on my Facebook, all my media, everything. I was taught transgender on very many social media sites, adult social media sites like FetLife.com, Alt.com, things of that nature.
Yeah.
And I would go out, and one of the things that boosted me up there was my advocacy for sexual health and to not only be sexual liberated, but also to take social accountability and to kind of clean up the system from the inside. And I learned through being there, a lot of people admired that, but not too many people in the industry really wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way it is.
So there was basically an issue with diseases, is what you're saying. That was
disease, crime, drugs, even more. And
Yeah.
that's what led me to my blood pill. To get back to your original question, was when I ran the club,
Mm-hmm.
I had a bunch of transgender strippers running around and problems, or it was a pain in the ass. And I'll be honest with you. And I had some issues. So I set up secret cameras of my own without the club. The ownership didn't know, other management didn't know, and I set them up to watch my girls.
Yeah.
And with about 6 months there, I learned and started to unearth that they were running a major meth distribution ring, not just through my club, but through the entire LGBT district within the Providence area.
Wow.
Huge. I took it so political and made such a big stink that it helped close that club. At that point, I took my red pill and I went into Christianity for safety. I would be dead today and not here today if I didn't do that. That's what made me become more politically extroverted with the conservative movement and the religious ideology. That was my red pill. That's what began my walk towards Christian America and where I am today.
Let me ask you a question. And I apologize if this sounds ignorant, but transgender people that work in, as exotic dancers or even in the adult film industry, would you say that a lot of them do that to help with the cost of the transition? And that just seems to be...
Is this G-rated?
You can say whatever you want.
So the bottom line is, I'm going to tell you right now, coming out transgender, yes. 10 years ago, it was hard to get work. It was hard to get a job. And yes, you can say that some reasons they go and they may do that for those reasons. But the bottom line is I tried to establish while I was in there, and even until today, try to get these workers to work and get regular jobs. They don't. A lot of them are on drugs. And sex workers, the majority are on drugs. You're doing hormones, you're this and that, you're going to lose your sex drive. They're making it up. And the biggest number one problem in my community is methamphetamines.
Yeah.
They're popping these drugs, they're doing the drugs, and they like it. They like it. If it gets them off, they want to do it. It is what it is. It's a lifestyle that goes all together. It's not just because they're a victim and they want to do this. A lot of them don't want to quit. A lot of them really like what they're doing. I mean, and they're stuck within their own vices. I was someone who was. I broke my chains, and I hope that all of them can as well. But until they make that choice for self-accountability, take accountability for their drugs and their lifestyle, they don't want regular jobs. They want to sit there and do that. It's something that gets off them. You got to understand, being transgender, especially coming out at the beginning of your transition, is, with most of us, it's very, very hypersexual on a level most people can imagine.
And the speed just added to that, pretty much.
Once they lose that, they keep it up with the drug use and they fall into the culture. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
So the speed, was that mostly just was it for sexual reasons, or was it more just to stay awake and be able to work till 4 o'clock in the morning and dance?
Yeah, everyone has their own reasons. And I'm going to tell you right now, methamphetamines is exploding through this nation at an unprecedented rate. And it's something that this country is not talking about because it's going all the way to the establishment. And I'm going to tell you, there's a myriad of reasons. My reason, I am a recovered meth addict, and I do not hide that. I do not at all. I'll tell you right now, the reason I got into it is because I got into the LGBT. I started experimenting with other drugs, and a friend of mine brought me home to her friends for an after party from the club. Okay. I was already drunk. I did a shot of what I thought was silver Padron. Yeah. And it was GHB.
Oh.
I woke up.
For anyone who doesn't know, GHB is isn't it like a carburetor cleaner or something? It's a very harsh chemical that's found in cleaning equipment and stuff like that. And basically, can you explain for our viewers sort of what GHB does and the effects that it has on you?
GHB is a date rape drug. It just totally takes you out. It's like being drugged but happy about it at the same time.
Yeah.
And
you didn't know. So the first time you thought this was a shot of tequila, you get the GHB. What happens?
Well, what happens was 15 minutes later, I get a shot of methamphetamines into my left arm, unwarranted, unasked for.
Oh my God.
The addiction was granted to me without my choice of making it.
Was it an instant addiction? Did you feel instantly addicted? Did you feel instantly
addicted? My clothes. I'm going to tell you right now. My clothes came off. I begged for an open gangbang, and they gave it. The camera was on. They gave it. They put me out. They gave me products, sent me to the streets. I dealt with that addiction for 4 to 5 years later. I didn't do it heavily, but every 6 months or so, it would catch me up. I'd relapse. I'd put myself in and do it. I've been sober and clean now, going about a little over 3 years.
Oh my God,
and I'm very proud of that.
Wow.
So I was granted that gift with something I was not asked for, but I'm very well educated with that. See, all that played into who I was and who I am today. That played into me being the promoter at the club. That was in me protecting the girls. That was in me going through my sexual advocacy and my health work. I understood the dark side of the rainbow and I thrived there. While I was there, I learned and I was educated and I tried to clean it up from the inside out. And I'm on the outside trying to clean it up. And I'm thank you for the voice to be able to speak about it because, like I said, there's nobody in this nation talking about the meth. There are a few out there. There are a few people like Kalichi, Rich Walters. These are Americans who have my heart. They're fantastic people. And if you get Kalichi out here, that'd be a great show. These are people who go out here and they'll be honest about the drug addiction, go on and explain to what's going on in this nation. We need more people within the LGBT, and I'm calling anybody in the LGBT listening who's been through this to rise up, stand up, and let's talk about the LGBT drug culture because that's the number one driving force and what's driving everything to hell today. And it is sad. It really is.
Yeah, it seems like what the media talks about mostly is the opioid epidemic, which also is its own problem. But you're right. I mean, mainstream media, I'd say, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, you don't hear them talking about the methamphetamine issue. I did see, I'd say about a year ago, Vice did a pretty good documentary about methamphetamine and sex workers. Because it does help with the sort of promiscuity that comes along with that industry. And it's tough. I mean, I've never been through it myself, but I can only imagine how heavy that weighs on your soul to do something sinister.
I'm going to tell you now, the best way I can explain it to you is it's crystallized hellfire. No human being should be able to have 1,800 units of dopamine dropped instantaneously and hold for that long. It is the most insane, I think, experience a human can have, and it has a 93% relapse rate. It's putting people in the dirt. It's killing us, and it is what it is. But it's also making the establishment a ton of money, not just all the way top. I'm talking all the way ground level, and we're talking $850 billion industry. Now you can go back and look, and if you study the history of methamphetamines in this nation, it correlates directly with the growth of the LGBT movement coming in.
Is this what you say is like the dark side of the rainbow? Is this what you refer to?
This is what I'm referring to the dark side of the rainbow. And this is what's not being talked about. They use it, they flip around, they deflect. Mm-hmm. That's like, look at what's his name? Matt. Oh, God. It's the Colorado kid who got murdered.
Late
90s.
Oh, no, I'm not sure what you're referring to.
He started like the LGBT movement. Matt. I can't.
Oh yeah. He was the hairdresser guy.
Yeah, but yes. When he was murdered, they hung him in Colorado. They put him in the cross and made it look like a hate crime.
Oh no, I'm thinking about something else. That's a terrible story.
As an LGBT person, I feel really bad.
Yeah.
But he's what kind of kicked off the LGBT rights movement, and they kind of used that and turned it around as a hate crime. And if you learn that truth, there's a book out there, The Book According to Matt, and it tells you the truth of what has happened. That he was actually a transporter for methamphetamines, and they made it look like a hate crime in order to get away with the product.
Oh wow!
But they're not going to talk about that. They're just going to go and they're going to victimize it. They do it today still. If you go through and you look up transgender meth use, all you see is it's a consequence of discrimination. You don't see the fact of what's going on in the rest of the truth. They don't talk about it. I've asked for studies, and one thing's, what about this drug? Is this drug making people transgender? Is it making them gay? Does it change sexuality? I know when I used it, it made me. I was never into men until I did methamphetamines, and the next thing you know, I loved them. Thank God I'm away from it now. No offense, but
well, that's interesting.
It changed my sexuality.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that because there's sort of this open debate or opinions on whether sexuality is something you're born with or something that's learned. So when you say to me that doing the methamphetamine actually sort of activated your curiosity for same-sex relations, that's kind of a curious statement. You know,
it's a very good statement. I've asked, and I've gone out for the past 5, 6, 7 years. I've gone through and messaged, I don't know how many colleges, universities, that, and nobody wants to hear it. Where are these studies? What is the effect of dropping 1,800 units of dopamine into a human's brain and bringing that sexuality to the surface? What does that do to human sexuality? What does that do to gender identity? These are questions that need to be. I believe, if we really care about transgender people in the country, need to be answered. But the bottom line is, we're a farm. The establishment all uses us. They are going to make money off transgender. They make it off the black market in the sex work. They make it off the black market in the drugs. Now you bring in, like Obama did, into socialized medicine. They're making it off the medical industry. You're making it off clothing. You're making it off. It's now big time money. We became a farm, and that all started with methamphetamines. And it is what it is. And the truth is never going to be brought to the surface as long as the deception's making a ton of money, as it is.
When you stopped,
that's the sad part.
When you stopped using the meth, did your feelings toward men disappear? Did you still have those homosexual feelings, or once the drugs stopped, that stopped as well?
Over the past couple of years, to be honest with you, my attraction to men has dissipated. And the further I get away from a drug, it has as well. But that also plays into the factor, and I'm a unique human as well. And, you know, when I quit, I got sober, I also found and gave my life to God. I'm very proudly Christian. I love God with all my heart. He is everything to me. And one of the things that I can give him as a former adult promoter and who I was as a person is I give my sexuality, and I'm celibate. I've been celibate almost 3.5 years now, and I channel that energy into my spiritual energy, and it's something that I give to my Lord, and I love it. So to me, to have attraction to men, I don't know. I'm a unique person. Like I said, I don't use the drugs. I don't use anything that's going to manipulate that in a way that's going to make it that way. I mean, in fact, it's quite the opposite. I'm taking testosterone blockers and estrogens with my hormone regimens, and so without substituting anything else, my sex drive is pretty much down anyhow, and I prefer it that way.
Okay. I actually tried celibacy myself for a year, and it was an interesting year for my own personal reasons. I guess for me, it was like I looked at sex and relationships as a distraction, and I took a break from it all. I've since
it's a very big distraction. That's one thing I've learned. It's been 3.5 years. It's a very big distraction. I don't know how spiritual you guys are, but it's a spiritual distraction. It's a distraction from life. Sex can override you, and when it comes on and you get that urge, nothing else matters till you satisfy it. I can focus now today on my faith. I can focus on my business. I can focus on my education, my family, my friends, and I don't have that haunting me. And, you know, someone who was transgender and who had sexual issues in this high sex drive my entire life, this is the breath of fresh air for the past few years. I absolutely love it because I'm not hogtied by my sexual desires. And I believe, you know, that's a human thing that a lot of people go through. That's why there's so much money in the sexual industry. It is what it is. It's a drug. It's almost like a drug.
Absolutely. So, okay, so let's talk about your transition to getting into politics.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to shift there, or is there some other things you wanted to touch on?
We can shift to politics, absolutely. I love to talk politics. I really do, because one of the biggest things and one of the most important things to me personally as an American is to get out there and to teach America the political diversity of the LGBT and especially the transgender movement. There's a big false narrative going out there that the far left progressive queer ideology is something that we're all in this one big movement for. It's a big civil rights movement that we're all together for, and that's untrue. And the biggest message I can give to America is to showcase them and showcase that their narrative is bullshit.
You mean the Democrats?
We are just as diverse. Huh?
You mean the Democrats? The liberals?
The far left progressive Democrat, yes.
Okay.
You know, we're victimized, we're this, we're that. No, I'm someone who believes in equal liberty. I'm not here believing in the far left ideology, which is, you know, the queer ideology, the redefining society. I don't believe in that whatsoever. I believe in true equality. Here it is. Now, base it down to a very easy way for people to understand is that I believe that LGBT equality pretty much is achieved with marriage equality. Yes, there's some understanding, there's some things that need to go on in earning and understanding transgender and what that is. Okay. We are separate from gay, we are separate from that, we are a different issue. But the problem with the LGBT agenda is that it pushed past equal liberty through this point. I'm going to tell you, I think that everybody out in this world in this country has a right to express themselves any way that they feel to be who they are.
Absolutely.
I believe every LGBT, you do, I do, everyone has that right, and everyone should have that equal right and hold it. And I stand with the LGBT on that issue. But the one thing that they went too far is that everybody also has an equal right to their perceptions. I was born a man, I became Kristy, I'm now a girl. You know what? In your world, you have every right to perceive me for who you believe I am. If you see me as a man, that's your world. How can I get into your mind, manipulate you, tell you your guardian, your creator is something else, and force you by law or force you through violence to call me a woman or see something else?
Absolutely.
That is where we've gone far too far, and that's what I want to put the brakes on.
Now, yeah, absolutely. You said a lot there, and I kind of want to back up a little bit and ask you, when you transitioned to Kristy and became a woman, and obviously, you're a beautiful woman. You look like a woman, and my question is, were those decisions to become a woman because you felt as though you were sort of trapped? You were a woman trapped in a man's body? Was it for sexual reasons, and you were looking for maybe interest from men, and for men to look at you and perceive you as a woman, or was it more internal and more just your own expression? Yeah, thank you.
All right, I'm going to go through this, and I can backtrack and say that I thought throughout my entire life that I felt this way, yes and no, but I didn't understand it. I can't say I just transitioned too, because I'm still in the process of that transition. It's a continuous journey, and it always will be. It's me finding out who I am. I am transsexual, and this is the next thing. And as we get forward, I'm going to ask. I want to teach your viewership the difference in transgender diversity, what that is, and who we are.
Big question.
I hate the term transgender.
We would like that.
Yeah.
Transgender is an ideology. Let's kick that out of the window, out of the door right now. I don't view myself as transgender.
Okay.
I am transsexual. Oh. What that means is that I was born with the medical condition where I do have the mental understanding. My brain does think that she's female. Okay. My soul does too. Okay. I absolutely fully believe that. For whatever reason, whether I was born, when you can sit there and the science behind it and back that up, I'm not going to bring that out. I'll leave that for my peers. They do that all the time. But when I came out, I just made the choice. It's not just being born, but there's also a combination of choice to risk my life, to change everything about it, to be who I was, to be who I feel that I am. And I paid a dear price for it. Yeah. But I'm happy to be there. I guess if that answers your question.
Can you explain the difference between transgender and transsexual?
Okay. The difference is huge. Transgender is an umbrella term. Okay. Transgender, it means anybody who is outside the norms of the creation story, man and woman being born that way, binary. Anybody who's outside that. So a transsexual, of course, would fall out that. Our medical condition makes us this way. We transition to be, from one to the other. Put it this way, transsexual is like taking a coin, flipping it, going from one to the other. Transgender is a whole new currency. Okay. That's somebody, if you want to cross-dress, transvestite, drag queen, you want to feel like a girl one minute and feel like a boy the next and go back and forth and have 58 different genders, you're a transgender. But transsexual is very unique. Transsexual is going from male to female, and that's taken every procedure with hormones, that's taken, surgeries, bottom, top, whatnot. I'm still in process. I've only had my top surgery. And then continue to make yourself feel complete. It's a flip of the coin. It's all in one deal. It's not trying to rewrite, like I said, rewrite a whole new currency for the rest of the world to use.
So it's not necessarily your sexual preference does not steer this, is what you're saying. So it does.
No.
So if someone was to transition man to woman, woman to man, it doesn't necessarily mean that they are homosexual.
My viewpoint, as far as sexuality goes, you're gonna take it its easiest way to do is do the math biological. Whatever your sexual organs are and however you're sexually engaging with that is whether you're straight, bi, or gay. if I'm with a man and he has sex with me, that's homosexual. There's no denying that.
Right.
But I'm going to tell you right now, does it have anything to do with sex? Yes and no. In no sense, being transsexual has to do with gender identity. It's not my sexual identity that drives it, but in the whole transgender realm of the whole umbrella, the far left progressive ideology, I'm going to tell you right now, their number one goal is to attack the family unit, the Christian family nuclear unit, by taking gender expression and rewriting sexuality. That's like me putting on dressing up like a girl. Now I'm a girl. Now we can be straight. We can have sex. Now they want to destroy the whole family unit by destroying like I said, the typical sexual and gender roles. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, as a Christian, Polly, there was a question that you and I had talked about. Can you bring that up? Because I think that's a good time now to. And let me ask you this. Have you always felt like a girl inside since you were a child? Is this something that you've had?
Absolutely. Even when I was little, yes, I did. But you know what? I thought everybody felt that way. I thought it was normal. I just didn't speak about it because I grew up. I'm going to tell you, this goes back a little bit more about my history. You do not know. I'll bring it up. I grew up in a very, very strict conservative household.
Christian household.
I grew up in I grew up partially on a Franciscan friary, in fact. My family was there. I helped build Our Lady of Guadalupe friary from Franciscan Friars in Immaculata in Griswold, Connecticut. And I grew up with, they're phenomenal. They're still my friends today, these priests. I love them. They're compassionate. They're great people. They're a little too extreme in their faith for me, for my calling, but they're still wonderful, wonderful people.
Are they supportive?
When I grew up, were they supportive of transgender? No. That's what I was going to get to next.
Okay, sorry.
As far as transgender issues, no. I was never allowed to know what transgender was. It was never brought up. My mom and my parents are so conservative that wasn't the case. I had sexual issues with dressing in women's clothes and looking at porn, the whole nine, starting as early like 7 years old because I was curious. What's going on here?
Absolutely.
And it was all my family split. They blamed it on molestation, things of this nature, because it was something else, which never happened. I was never molested. It was just the fact that I was trans, and
that's an argument.
Option.
Yeah, now that's an argument of a lot of people. I mean, not particular to your story, but that the reason a lot of people feel as though they're gay or have these female feelings or masculine feelings are because of something that happened in your past, like being molested or raped or things like that. You hear it's a very common thread, and I don't necessarily know that that's true, but it would be interesting to get your insight on that.
Oh yeah, me, no, I never was, but one of my best friends in life, that's their situation, and I think going through it, and I'm just accessing for what I experienced with other people, is that it has to do something with their own psyche, their own justification. And that plays into, I think, some of the transgender realm and issues with them. And if that helps them alleviate some of their pain or some of their exploration or whatnot, then it is what it is. Because I've seen people like this, and not just my friend, but others who I've coached them, and they have deeply scarred emotions and feelings from going through these experiences. And being able to help justify it within their own mind in doing a gender transition, things of this nature, I think helps appease that within them. And that is something that is a common thread among many trans. Yeah. I'm very blessed.
Yeah,
I was not molested until I was raped, and I was 30-something years old when that happened. But that was all the way there.
That was the night at that party where the first time you tried methamphetamine? Yep. That's a terrible story. Yep. I'm so sorry that happened to you.
Don't be. God works in funny ways, and he put me through hell to forge me, and I'm glad to be here today and to survive it. Yeah. I'm here fighting for other people, and to be able to be a voice for that is something I'm proud of today. Absolutely. But I appreciate that, and thank you.
Yeah. So the question that we had earlier, as a Christian, you believe in God and that he has a purpose for your life. Yes. Why do you think he put the female mind that you have and the feelings that you have in a male body?
Why did he do that? I don't know if he did that or if he allowed that. I can sit there and question that to the day I die. But the bottom line is, I'm not going to question his work. I'm just going to be there, and I'm going to help his work. I love my God with all his heart. There's a lot of Christians out there that think me being trans may be against him. But you know what? I'm going to meet my maker one day, and I can't wait to say, hey, look what we made together. I love you. I love him with all my heart. So again, I don't blame him for putting me in this, but to be who I am and to have this life through no matter hardships, whether it be not just being transgender, but all the hardships I went through in my life are gifts from God. Because I understand today where they brought me through and brought me to him and brought me to where I understand my strength and my faith, my belief system, and my love to help others. This has been a gift. Like I said, I am a unique person. I never am going to sit there and feel sorry for myself for adversity. I'm going to honor that. I'm going to love it, and I'm going to ask for more. And this is something I always have done. The highest mountain, I want to climb it for my goals, what I want to do for my God, whether it be for my friends, my family, for those things that I believe in, I'm going to fight for. And the harder I can fight, the more blessed I believe.
Yeah,
and that's my personal.
Absolutely. I can respect that.
Thank you.
Did you find it harder coming out as trans or more conservative? Which one did you find more opposition with?
Within my personal circle of my family and with that, of course it hurt more coming out trans. There's still a lot of people in my family today that don't have anything to do with me because of their belief systems. Some of them, whether it be their own sexual issues, whether it be their faith and their definition of Christianity, I still don't have that, and that's still painful today.
Do you think people are not?
As I move on.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Please continue.
But to answer your question, to come out conservative in this nation as a transgender woman has been extremely hard. It's been extremely hard, and the hardest thing it's been through, and I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to thank both of you, has been the censorship. Because they've boxed me out, they eliminated me, they put me in a corner, and they tried to make sure I could not communicate with the rest of my community and my peers.
Why do you think that is?
Who is censoring? Who is censoring you?
Facebook, social media. When I was in the social justice warrior side, when I was doing the adult industry, I got access to about a quarter to a third of all transgender adult pages on Facebook, whether it be group and whatnot, and they would just hand it to me. This is between 2012 2015. I had access to millions. I would message Facebook. I'd be like, "Who sent this to me? Who sent this to me?" I mean, at the point, at that time, I was excited. I just wanted to thank them.
Yeah.
No answer, no answer. I just had all these admins, and I just kept putting out the social justice warrior and all that and promoting the transgender ideology and just kept doing that. And as I promoted that, I just had this huge followings and just kept going. The minute I came out for conservative America and when I flipped for Trump in the 2016 election, I immediately was put into jail. And for the next 3 years, continually put on jail. Some of them I will take accountability for. They were earned. But the majority of them were not. They would go through, and Facebook would put me in a 30-day jail. I'd repeal. They'd tell me that they repealed, that I was not in violation. They apologized, but they would still keep the 30-day ban on my account and continually doing that. It was almost like you don't have a voice, sit down. Recently, over the past 6 or 7 months, I don't know what's happened politically in the back end, but they have been very, very more open to me communicating with my base. But they still put me in an echo chamber. I'm still shadow banned and unable to reach a lot of people. It's difficult, but like I said, tonight it's huge for me. Be able to express, come on a podcast. I want to say thank you for breaking through that.
Oh,
but yes,
absolutely.
coming out
Thank
and speaking.
you for coming.
Yeah, honestly,
Twitter. I can't get on Twitter. I'm instantly banned. FetLife.com in 2014, 2015, I was #1 in their world on their website in transgender. I'm now banned for life on it for promoting Trump.
Wow.
It is what it is. A lot of these venues are, which they're completely, you put this hat on, goodbye. You're done. You're done. Yeah.
What does that hat mean to you?
I'm sorry?
What does that hat mean to you?
This hat means to me the survival of American liberty, basically is what it means. And, that's why I'm standing up. I am what I am. My car's all trumped out. I'm trumped out. I'm one of the most extroverted Trump supporters in this nation and one of the most unique ones. And I love that. It is what it is, and I will not stand down. I have a lot of courage. And it just is. It's a standing for American liberty. It's standing for truth. I love my president with all my heart. I know a lot of people feel differently from my community, but there's a lot of them that also love him as well. I'm going to tell you right now, if you look up the Wall Street Journal breakdown of the 2018 midterm elections, you're going to find that 37% of my community voted Republican. So I'm not alone. I'm not alone.
Kristy, have you wearing that hat? We know what kind of weight that carries, regardless of your party affiliation. My question is, have you ever suffered any kind of violence or acts of aggression just because you're donning Trump's hat? No pun intended.
Absolutely. I'm unique. And let's just say over the past couple of years, one of the reasons I moved to Alabama as well is I've been at war with the far left over in the Providence area. That's where I come from, is Providence.
Right.
And I would rock this hat and I wear it, and it is what it is. Did I catch shit? Yes, I lost. I got kicked out of all my trans LGBT groups, not allowed. As violence, yes. Just yesterday, driving back from Boston to get down here, so I have time for the show, I had somebody on 81 in Tennessee with a Bernie Sanders sticker and a resist sticker in the back of his piece of shit car come at me, freaking yelling, screaming, birds swinging. I'm just driving 75 in my car with the cruise control and just beeping his horn, throwing, codes pat me. Okay, fine, that's unhappy. But then he pulls out in front of me, starts throwing shit out my brand new car.
Oh, wow.
So that was it.
Why do you think people are so
more.
triggered?
Yeah,
what
why are they
is
so
it that
angry?
triggers people just from this hat?
It's a make.
I mean,
America great
you're
hat.
right. The hat represents something. It represents a person. It represents an ideology.
Because, all right, do you want to know the bottom line?
Yes.
It's because the progressives think they own the control in the future of this nation for everybody. Over the past 10 years, you have seen a decline up until Trump of conservative values. You had the Tea Party going out there. You had conservatives voicing their opinions. But you had Mitch McConnell and Boehner come out right after Obama's election saying they weren't going to impeach him. And they wrote the establishment a clear check. They gave him a clear check and gave the progressive movement. We ended up, look what they did. They completely shifted this country far left. If you go back to 2015, I don't think you can find many Americans that didn't think it wasn't going to go into the future with Hillary Clinton arresting it. They were just going to rewrite humanity. Trump brought that down and brought conservative values back to this nation. He gave us true equality and brought it back down to that equal point. Now, I think a lot of people are afraid he was going to go back far to the far right, but no. What happened when he came with the anti-establishment movement is he had all the moderates shift over to the Republican Party, and he redefined that party. The far right is not what it was anymore. They have a small voice. It's no longer. The political party is the party of middle America now, and that's what scares them. And because they're scared because they're not going to be able to gain that power to go into the future like they wanted to. And now they don't have the power to rewrite what they want to. And that's the problem, because they don't want equal liberty. They want to write the world that they want. They don't want to share America. They want to take it over. And that's the problem. They had it in hand, and now Trump took it out of them. And that's the problem. As long as we support him, we support that. And that's their problem. And I support equal liberty.
You know what's interesting about Trump is the fact that he's not a politician or a typical politician. Obviously, he is now, but his entire career he's been a businessman. He's been in real estate and casinos and these type of things. And he was able to get on the main stage and speak extemporaneously, shoot from the hip, not read off a teleprompter because of that. And I think that helped him big time, because all of these other politicians are inside this box. They have to stay conformed to the typical prose of a politician. And then you have this guy come in who's going to talk shit and say exactly what's on his mind. Go ahead.
Not just that, he's powerful. He's courageous. He has his own money. He knows the establishment inside and out, but they're not in his pocket. The guy loves America. He's intelligent. He gets out there, and it is what it is. In America, it's a totally different. It's an anti-establishment message with the leader of a free world who absolutely loves this country, and he proves it. He has not lied to his base. He's been open with his base. He's shared everything with us. He's honest, and he's a fighter. A lot of people think we're worried about what was going to happen with him. They thought he was going to take over and go far left liberal. No, he's been middle ground. If you look at everything he's written down, it's been America. It's all been middle ground legislation. He has brought Christianity back, and I'll say that's more of the far right end, and that would be the one aspect of the far right he has brought back, but that needed to happen to bring it back to the pivot. You're talking to a transsexual porn industry worker who's come back to meet him there, because that's where this country needs to be, to pivot back to the middle for equality for all. Okay. And he brought that back, and it is what it is. And I think that's why people love him and hate him.
Do you?
And, go ahead.
In your opinion, do you think Donald Trump is a racist?
No, not at all. Not at all. I'm going to tell you right now. I was there the day. I don't know if you remember back when it was it was early November last year, where he had a bunch of African Americans people come to the White House, and he invited them all. And there were a couple hundred of them. I remember that big photo op. I was not there at the White House, but I was at Trump International Hotel meeting some of the people and making friends with them. In just to be able to speak with them, meet them. I see Trump. No, I don't think he's racist one bit. I actually just went and you see, this Trump flag in the back.
Yeah.
I bought that from a black guy on the side of the road selling Trump stuff. He was all Trumped out. No, this racism narrative is nothing but pure bullshit. Just as the transgender and LGBT narrative is pure bullshit.
Well, to that point,
just as the
to that point that you just made, the LGBTQ thing. Last night I did some research. I said, if I wanted to know if there was something that he said from his mouth and not from the media where he slandered
the LGBT community.
Yeah, trans people, the military thing, and I literally could not, and I try and stay in the middle. I really don't take sides, and I think that for this type of platform, we really need to do that so we can give a voice to people like yourself, but we couldn't find it. We literally could not find a single clip where he had anything bad to say about LGBTQ people. Nothing. I mean, if anything, he was very supportive of you guys.
Going to, and you're not going to, because we're American and he loves us. As long as we take accountability for our actions and contribute to society, we are welcomed in this America. But that's the problem. That's the problem. It's a far left faction of this LGBT that doesn't want it. They're the ones in the drugs. It's the people who are selling sex. They're the ones that selling the drugs. They're the ones that don't want to go to work or take accountability for their own lives. Now they got their back page taken away. Now they got the drugs are going after. Their culture within that far left party free sex lifestyle is being attacked. Mm-hmm. The culture is. Are they as people, LGBT people? No. And as somebody who survived that, it's one of the reasons why I love my president. Not only is he going after and helping that and going after the same establishment that's putting my peers in the dirt, he also inspired me personally to come out of my addiction, take accountability for my life, and chase the American dream. And today I am flying and living my dreams, and a lot of that has the inspiration of my president. Whether or not he's my president, that man there has inspired me, and I love him for that. And it is what it is. To get back to the military, I can get back to that, and I apologize, I talk a lot.
Yeah,
no, that's good.
The military ban, and I want to speak about that. The military ban against transgender is not banning transsexualism. It's not banning people. It's banning an ideology. It's not individuals it's banning an ideology that threatens the liberty of all Americans. And I actually stand by my president with that. I ask that everybody in this nation please stand by and support the trans people who may have been affected with this and try to help them, strengthen them. Let's work and see what we can do and work towards the future. But until America as a whole understands what transgender has done and the left has done with that term and the umbrella term of transgender, with the addition and adoption of queer non-binary ideology, then we have to do this. We have to do this block. We have to do this stop, because it's not the individual, it's the ideology. And I want to speak to you what non-binary queer ideology is. Non-binary queer is meaning that gender is more than just male and female. It means that it's a spectrum of all. It's a whole spectrum of gender, and that you can feel and fall upon that, and that it is a personal choice, and that we are born to be able to make that choice. I mean, non-binary it's a new belief system, and I believe, as a transgender advocate and as a political advocate, that we should take non-binary ideology and market and list that in this nation under law as a religious ideology. It challenges the creation story of how we were created and how we believe, and that challenges the creation of God. And if it's going to challenge Christian Judeo God in the creation story, then it is in fact a religious ideology. So it should be held under the same protections, but also the same restrictions. And the fact that it's not, it's why it's running around and ripping this country apart.
It's an interesting point of view. Let me ask you this, kind of a serious personal question.
Shoot.
If you were not a transgender woman, you would be a white male, a white American male, yep. Correct? Okay.
Absolutely.
Do you think, and you have, I've seen your following, you have, and you have notoriety, and people listen to what you have to say. My question to you is, do you think your voice would be as pronounced and people would receive you the same way that they do if you were not a transgender woman and you were like myself, just an average American white male?
Absolutely not. I'd have no voice. Absolutely. I'm going to tell you right now, being a transgender woman in this country, I'm very privileged. I do have assets and everything else. The left wants to say it's extreme victimization, but I'm going to tell you right now, I took self-accountability for who I am. I walk this world and I can do whatever I want. Transgender people people like myself are severely privileged in society. Yes, we have our hardships. Some people misunderstand us. The family won't accept us. It's unique. But to be able to understand, like I said, that's a good position today. To be able to put this bag of hat on and have a voice is because I'm transgender. For me to have control of the sexuality of men and women and just be able to have that. I got more closet keys in my back pocket than probably any other American. What is that? That's a privilege. That's power. And we have a lot of power. We have a lot of privilege in this nation. And sit there and say that we're nothing but victims does a disgrace to who I am.
So making the transition has given you a sense of empowerment and sort of made you feel like you more confident in saying what you have to say. Is that right?
Oh, yes. I'm extremely more extroverted, extremely more confident. When I was Christopher, I was very laid back, very quiet. I was very passive. Now I'm probably one of the most aggressive people going after their dreams that you'll ever meet. And a lot of that has to do with what my transition and what that's brought through me. And again, it goes through that forge. It goes through the survival. It goes through, it is what it is.
Yeah.
You learn as you go. And I was able to grow. And right now I'm extremely privileged because of my transgender, or I hate calling myself transgender. I'll say my transsexual identity.
Yeah, but those are all these wonderful positive things that have come out of your transition. But you and I both know that there are others that, the suicide rate, for example, in the transgender community is high. There are people that take their lives because they feel so unaccepted and so disconnected from society because of their choices. And one thing that I noticed in just researching some of these statistics is that for some, not all, after making the transition to the sex that they feel that they've always been, but now, bringing it to fruition physically, some tend to still take their own lives because there's deep-rooted psychological issues there that are never really resolved. It's simply you do the surgery, you make the transition, you look the part, but those internal issues are still there. What do you think about those people and giving them sort of the community brings them together, right? So having a community and feeling like you're part of something, LGBTQ, whatever you want to call it, just having a base and feeling like you're part of something, I think would help with that drastically and make people feel more connected and less isolated. Because I think that's really what it boils down to is the isolation. And just everyone has gone through that to some extent, but I'm sure no one as much as people in your situation.
Well, absolutely, because you lose not all of us, say everyone has a unique journey, but a lot of us do lose our support systems. We lose our family, we lose our friends. I know I'm a victim of that. I'd be able to rekindle some, and it is what it is.
How about your immediate family?
Be able to lose your support system, it makes you more accessible to the one thing the rest of the LGBT is not talking about, but I just brought up earlier, and that's being the drugs. That has opened up the gates wide open for the LGBT culture, that community you talked of, and made my people victims of a drug culture.
Yeah.
And that drug culture is feeding into that suicide rate, and I'm a survivor of that as well. I've been there, I lived through it. And the fact the rest of my community are not talking about it is something that just drives me batshit crazy. And the one thing I'm probably proudest most of with my community, who I do love, is the fact that I'm a voice for the forsaken. And I want to change and make sure that those in the future are not as forsaken as them. We need to address these issues. Yes, we do need community. We do need help. That's why I'm in Christian America right now, forging that and trying to build that in rather than the drug dealers and the pimps. Because that's what needs to happen and change in this nation. We need to bring these people in. We need to help them. They need to be understood. They need real help. They don't need crystal meth. They don't need free sex. They don't need to be on the streets chasing porn star dreams. What they need is true support in this nation. And as their support system falls apart, where else can we find that? And I hope to God my Christian community and Christian family out there is praying for them, and that we can find some way to reach out to these people, because I do love them. They do need help. I was one of them. I was lucky to survive. But I'm calling on the other survivors from my community to stand up and to be more vocal about this drug culture. And I'm calling on my Christian community to have a little more open heart and a little more wider arms to come through and understand. What we need is more understanding. And that's why the far left has censored my voice. They don't want to understand because they have full control right now of that place of refuge for when these transgender and LGBT people have no place to go. And they're putting them and selling them drugs, or putting them on drugs, and then farming them. The rainbow plantation is farming my people, and it's driving that suicide rate. It's killing them, and it's putting them in the dirt. I thank God I broke free. I thank God I chose to walk away. You know what? I'm unique because I want to charge that rainbow plantation. I want to rip out the jugular of the plantation owners because of this exact reason. My community does need that support system. They need to be there. The biggest thing that's going to change and bring forth and drop that suicide rate is awareness to the drug culture and true understanding of who we are. To break down that transgender diversity, to go into all of America and just totally destroy that umbrella. Let's torch it. Let's put it on fire. Let's go. Let's bullshit. Let's get transgender out of here. And let's go through and educate the difference within transgender, let people truly understand and earn their place in society. Once we do that, once these people start having better community, better opportunities, they're not going to be walking towards drugs like they are. That suicide rate will go down. We'll find ourselves more acclimated in society, and we can bring all together back to a base of constitutional liberty.
Beautifully said. But my question is, are the Christian churches accepting people in your situation? Because to some extent, don't they view it as a sin? I'm a Jewish person, so I don't know. Polly's Christian. I'm sure she can chime in on this and maybe get some biblical references or something. But I mean, am I wrong in saying that the Christian church is viewing this as a sin? So
right now, and right now, the Christian church should have its defenses up. At the same time, right now, this is what it's a give and take, and it's a big mess. Right now, and I can't speak for every Christian faith and every Christian person out there. I'm a part of St. Matthew's Episcopal. I love them. I found the Episcopal Church, and I absolutely, any Christian trans person out there, go to an Episcopal church and find that out. If you know. Phenomenal. There are churches out there who are adopting LGBT people. It is split in churches. It's changing. It's changing the whole fraction of what Christianity is. Absolutely. You know, but we have gone through that change of Christianity since the beginning of since its existence. But now we are in the next Martin Luther's coming in. And it is what it is. And so we are being adopted in some places. We're being welcomed in some places. I have never received more welcome in my life than I have at my church. The times are changing. But the times are going to change as we continue to grow and we teach to understanding. You've got to understand, 10 years ago, transgender was nothing. It wasn't like it was today. And all of a sudden it became marketed. When really about the time Caitlyn and Jenner came out is when it really became politically armed. And what they did is they took it and they aimed it at the head of Christian conservative America and their values. As I just told you, the non-binary ideology sets to destroy Christian base. The main pillar of Christianity is the family unit, and they're after that destruction of that unit.
Right.
They hate Christians, you know, and a lot of the far left will sit there and hate Christianity. They'll go after it and they openly attack it. So how's Christianity supposed to feel at the same time? So to get a take on both ends. And both far fringes have really screwed it up and took this political football and kind of bounced it around. So it's those in the middle that are going to need to stand up. They're going to make the change and forge a difference. And I'm glad to be in there right now. And there's a lot of us in there really working, and they're beautiful people. And this is what's going to change. It's not just this is A and B, black and white. This is a continuous transition. And a transition into the faith and acceptance in society. And both ends are going to have to work at that.
You mentioned the rainbow plantation. What exactly is that?
The rainbow plantation is a coin I termed for the establishment, and mostly the left Dems, but it doesn't have to be just Democratic establishment. But I'm talking about the government in the social establishment, which has a stranglehold upon the LGBT movement, whether it be all the way through the Democrats, politicians which are supporting it, to could be the LGBT mafia that's selling the drugs and moving it in. These are people who all work in collaboration to kind of farm transgender and LGBT issues and trying to control the narrative. They're the people that want me dead. They're the people that don't want the log cabins around. These are the people that want to run into the future and totally control it. They don't have, I'm going to tell you right now, the far left faction of the LGBT and that Rainbow Plantation has no concern, no goal whatsoever in equality. They want to rewrite, and they want to rewrite the entire narrative for all of us. It is what it is.
Yeah. Do you think that that's something the liberals have done in the past with minority groups? sort of piggyback them to steer their narrative, and now we're
That's
using
exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. It's one of the reasons why I can't stand the Democratic. I mean, I was a social justice warrior breaking open. As soon as we start getting acceptance, they come over, they hijack it, they farm it, they put a leash on it, and become heroes for it. And next thing you know, it's a political football on both ends. You know, it is. I mean, it's both. It's both. And I can sit there and just knock the Democratic Party. The Republican Party's doing the same damn thing. They can promote the hate. They can get the votes. They're going to do it too. I mean, so I work with both ends. I'm telling you, I just scared the shit out of Mo Brooks a couple weeks ago. He was giving a speech, and I went up there and talked to him. You know, it is what it is. I'm not afraid to talk to these people and try to bring in the middle. But the bottom line is it's on both ends. The political football, they can make power, they can take money off it. It is what it is. Until America really wakes up to the diversity of who we are, and we earn our acceptance and bring to that middle, you're going to find these politicians and these people on both ends using us as a football for their own personal gain.
So where do you see things going over the next, say, 4 years? After the next election, where do you see things going?
Be honest with you, right now, I don't know. I would like to see this country go to a place where we can come back to a big healing. The divide in this nation just seems to be getting worse. It's fabricated. Yeah, we are going through an establishment war right now. We're in a Cold War in America. So where are we in the future? I hope that we are healing each other. We're licking our wounds, and we're being there for each other. I hope, and one thing I want to say out there to Middle America and all people in Middle America listening, if you are a Trump supporter or you are not, anti-Trumper, but you support America, to step up for it. What's going to be more important to you? Losing that friend for a year, 2 years, not talking to each other because of political differences, or going to a funeral because they're dead when we go to war? And this is a point that's starting to ratchet up. And this all has to do with the media establishment going through. It's an establishment crumble. Media controls so much. There are people who are not politically evolved, or politically awake, or politically so we are. It just controls the masses and puts them into this huge divide. And right now, frankly, it's freaking sickening seeing what's going on in this nation. The fight that's going on. I mean, I voted for an anti-establishment movement. I just never understood how cruel this is going to be in the American populate. And I hope to see that around.
Yeah, let me create a hypothetical for you. Let's say your boy Trump gets another 4 years in office. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see people, and when I say people, I mean the masses. Do you see, and now, in all fairness, Trump has quite a lot of supporters, but I'm saying the people who are not behind him for the reasons that the media is projecting. Do you see those Americans coming around and siding with Trump, or at least seeing the light that you talk about and the good things that he's doing, both economically and socially? Because what I see, and now this is my opinion for a moment, is that policy is one thing, but unifying people is another. And what you just said, I look at it almost as a form of self-segregation. People are pocketing themselves, and you're either this or that. There's not much gray area. It's very binary. So one thing, you can say what you want about Obama or when the Democrats were running office, but one thing about Obama was he had the ability to speak with a prose that unified people and made people feel like
included.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see that changing? Do you see people coming around? In
order for that to change, Trump's going to have to get the same tool set Obama had and have a better media. That poor guy is getting attacked left and right. He has no support from the media, just a complete attack. Yeah, he's blunt. Yeah, he's got his blunt style, and maybe he can't sell it the car salesman type as others have in the past. But the bottom line is he's real, he's raw. The Americans, I'm going to tell you right now, I do think he's going to be reelected. I mean, I grew up, I'm 41 years old. I remember going in high school in the 90s, and Bill Clinton was, I remember he was president. That was the last time I remember this country having hope as far as financial. And I remember coming out of high school thinking I was going to have a good life. I was going to make good money. And then over the next 20 years, I just got stuck in this huge-ass recession. We all were. And I don't know if you remember before 3 years ago being poor all the time, but I do. And if every American sits there and looks where they are now to where they are today, I think that's going to be a big factor. He's brought economic success to this nation, and that's one of the things going to be the biggest factor people are going to vote for. I think a lot of people are awake to the media, and if it is what it is, and you're taking your partisan side, you're going to take whatever side it is because it's going to support your partisan side at this point. But I don't believe there's anybody in this nation who really believes what CNN's saying, and it just is what it is. They lost all credibility. We need to have more trust in our government, trust in our media, in order for us to have trust in our president. It's not just him, it's a whole system and a whole establishment which needs to be reconnected, rebuilt, restructured. And as we go through this anti-establishment explosion war, and I do predict that over the next couple of weeks, we're going to see some very, very, let's say, enlightening information come to light.
So regarding the impeachment stuff, what are you talking about?
No, I'm speaking more of what's going on with the deep state. If anybody followed QAnon or anything, I followed them for years, and everything that's happening today, I knew about a year and a half ago.
Follows who? What was it? We missed that part. Follows who?
Oh. I was a member of QAnon, following QAnon. I break down the codes and did my own research. Okay. And a lot of what's going on in this country now, it was something that, I'm sitting back. A lot of people are still fighting politically. I'm like taking a deep breath, trying to step away from it right now because I'm like, it's here. I've been waiting forever. Because they're, sealed indictments, things are coming through. Like today, they came through. The New York Post, right before I came on, was breaking out that that someone from the deep state's breaking into the journalism, and he just got arrested. You're going to see a lot more of this coming out, and you're going to see what's going on as far as the establishment. As more people understand what was going on with the establishment within the government, I think a lot more change is coming, rather than just hate. Yeah. You're always going to have the far left that's going to sit there, and they're going to be venomous, and they're going to want this because they had their vision stolen from them in the 2016 election. They thought they were running for the gold and they were going to control the other 70% of this nation. That's not happening no more.
The hate definitely needs to change. So what do you think, if given the proper platform, meaning in a perfect world, non-biased media, it is what it is, straight from the horse's mouth. It's not sound bites diced up to steer a specific narrative. What do you think Donald Trump could change in his speeches and his delivery to the nation to unite and make people feel more included and especially minorities? Because if you talk to people, that's probably the I'd say the main reason they dislike the guy is because they feel like he's a racist, he's a misogynist, he's a womanizer, all of these bad things, and they all come from very specific sound bites. Why is he a racist? The top one is, well, he said all Mexicans are rapists. He didn't say that clearly. It was a very specifically manipulated piece of audio and video from a speech that he gave, talking about people who were border crossing, and some of them were in cartels and some of them were trafficking drugs. And I get that. But what I'm saying is, forget all that nonsense for a second. What could he do at this point, in your opinion, to help unify people?
Destroy the media completely and go for the kill shot.
He's working on it.
In all honesty, I'm going to be honest with you. It is what it is. The guy's human. He's human. And to sit here, and I don't believe that he's racist. I don't think he hates minorities. I do think sometimes he can be biased and he can be human. We all can. I've made mistakes in my past, and we all, and the fact that they take his humanity and just turn him into a monster with it's disgusting. Yeah. There's been things he said where I've second guessed and this is that, and I don't think he's perfect. But you know what? The guy's human. And I do know that he loves Connecticut. He loves America. He's proven that to me. I don't think he's after minorities. I can't think of a bigger minority in this nation than transgender. And I absolutely love him. My biggest wish in this life is to give that guy a hug. I do not think that he's out there trying to hurt any of us. I think he's only trying to give us the tool sets to create our own vision, our own futures. Yeah. He's taken away the paychecks and given us the tool sets to create, and that's the difference. And I think that, a lot of people, that's where it is. You listen to the narrative, you go on your Facebook, it's 500 times a day how he's racist, how he's this, how he's that.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I don't, that's that narrative. And I'm going to tell you right now, I remember Trump before the election. I remember him hanging out with, a lot of the famous black people. And he was loved. He was adored by the same people attacking him and calling him today. What changed?
Yeah, he's in quite a few hip-hop songs, too. I mean, prior to him running for the presidency and getting in the political game, people idolized him for... A lot of them idolized him for his womanizing attributes and the things that he was doing that were...
I will say in a womanizer thing, he was. He's a playboy.
Yeah, the bad boy stuff.
I grew up as a kid watching my lifestyles, rich and famous.
Yeah.
I wanted to be him, at one point. He was an inspiration to a lot of us. We all wanted to have that lifestyle.
Sure.
Now, to be a womanizer and that, I think that there is something that he may want to work on. And that's something I will say, it is what it is. This leaves him susceptible to a lot of stuff. But I think a lot of his base is going to accept that and love that for what it is. It's just human. He's a guy. It is what it is. But, there's some things... He's gone too far. He may say things as being president of the United States, like when Neo came out, grabbed the pussy. He wasn't president of the United States when he said that either, though.
What did you think about that comment when you first heard it? Just as a person, not as someone in the public eye and that sort of thing. Just as a human being, when you heard that audio clip, how did that affect you?
It took the presidential candidate at the time and humanized him more for me than making him just some kind of monster or some kind of creation.
Yeah.
I'm not voting for a robot. I'm voting for a human.
Right.
And to be able to have that human nature is, it is what it is. He's always been like that. He ran the Miss America pageant. And one thing I'm going to say about transgender, a lot of people forget, and even if you look on Google right now, you're not going to find it. But the truth of the matter is, he's the first person to allow transgender people into the pageant.
Oh, is that
He
right?
openly. He didn't care.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was back 2014, I think, 2013. First transgender contestant was because of him.
So,
But,
were there any contestants in that pageant over the past couple of years that were transgender?
I don't know. I hadn't followed it since then. I wasn't a big follower of that, but I do remember that making the news back in, I want to say it's 2014.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And it's what it is. And so, one of the things when Trump was in the campaign and first coming out, and I was like, if I ever had a president I thought might have been into trans in this closet, I thought it might have been President Trump.
Awesome.
So I was like, I don't think he's going to hate us. I was sitting there thinking about the other GOP nominations going in. That was one of the reasons why I used my preference of the GOP party as a transgender American.
So in your opinion, Trump gets another 4 years in office?
I think he gets another 4 years. I don't see how he's not going to. Being so extroverted with myself politically and going through this nation,
Yeah.
I can tell you that I estimate probably about 70% of the nation's behind Trump. I'd say it's 65 to 70. The far left progressive looks to be about 30 to 35% in my personal interactions. And it just seems what it is. A lot of people are quiet. They don't want to get ruffled with feathers. And I honestly do believe that Donald Trump has the largest silent majority in human history behind him. And it is what it is. That's why the censorships come through with conservative America. That's why they've gone through. They've been smart. The sociological movements of the Democratic Party have been very, very smart. The resist movement from the start to go through. They're going to tell you, to label him racist, to go through and label him this and that and just keep attacking him on that narrative. They do that not just to bind him, but they do that to bind his base. They do to him what Christianity did to sexuality. They're shaming coming out. They're shaming putting that hat on and going out in public. And they do that, they're going to put you an outcast. If you love America and you love equal liberty, you love your president, you're now shameful to your nation. That's what left media has done.
Right.
And it's absolutely freaking disgusting. They've never done this to anybody in the nation. And what's this nation split is not because Donald Trump is president, it's because of the resist movement. And Hillary Clinton said it clearly herself, if you do not accept the results of this election, you're going to tear this country apart. And she was a prophet. And that was because of the resist movement. And they've come in and they've prevented our nation from healing. And that's they don't want the bridge. They don't want the bridge. They don't want it because it's an anti-establishment war, Cold War, which we're in. And it is what it is. And yes, I do believe that he's going to be elected. I believe that he has a lot more support than not. And in the basis of the economy alone, I mean, who wants to go vote and shoot down the economy?
He's doing
the
well.
Drug addicts and the ones that ain't getting the ones that ain't getting the freebies, they're going to be the ones that are going to be marching into socialism, and hitting it. But the majority of workers, they're out there, they're doing work, they're making good. The money's flowing.
I don't remember money flowing like this in been 20-something years. And that right there is going to keep him presidency.
On the
And I do
Democratic
believe that.
ticket, of all the candidates that are running on the Democratic ticket, who do you think has the best chance of potentially defeating Donald Trump?
I don't see anybody on the ticket holding the ability to do so.
I think they're going to have a tough time. They're
Because
definitely
right
going to
now
have
the
a tough time.
Democratic Party is about to split anyhow. Your Bernie Sanders supporters are going to have to, take it to the House and accept whoever it is, or vice versa. It is what it is, and you're going to have that infighting. I remember back in 2016. Now they're going to try to do Trump hate and ratchet up and try to unite them around the Trump hate. How many times are these Sanders supporters going to take it? Sanders ain't on the ticket. I don't see a lot of them getting out there and voting. And there's going to be a lot of infighting as well. On top of that, you do see strong candidates. I think my prediction was in the beginning that Elizabeth Warren's going to get the ticket. And if she gets the ticket, there's no way in hell she's going to win the South, and you're going to have to win the South in order to get the electoral counts. There's a reason why they're going after Trump for the impeachment right now. They know damn well they can't win the election. They know damn well it's going to be bloodbath at the voting booth.
You think that's what it is?
Their whole narrative stock.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I also think that going forward with the impeachment kind of makes the Democrats look weak at this point
in the game. That's exactly what I'm saying. And the reason they're going after it is because even me not being a Trump supporter, for middle America, you can look at it. What are they hiding? Mm-hmm. What are they hiding? It is what it is. If they really had the power to impeach him, they'd call for an impeachment vote, but they're not going to, because then it's going to have to go to the Senate. And then their whole can of worms is going to get opened up. So it is what it is. They're just going to play it and try to make him corrupt and come through and try to push their candidate as a non-corrupt healer of America. And that's their goal, I believe. But I honestly don't believe that they think they're going to win the election anyhow. I think at this point they're just trying to secure their base to see what they're going to be doing moving into the future as well. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, we did a podcast about a week ago where we talked about the impeachment, and I did a bit of research to learn more about this conversation from the phone call, and all that I could find at that time was a transcription, which was actually it was heavily modified. It reminded me of reading the New York Times in China. There were areas that were blacked out, and it honestly made the conversation really hard to understand. One thing that I think people do, especially millennials like myself, my generation, is we get a soundbite from whichever media resource we respect, and then we run with it, rather than forming an opinion based on just the raw facts. And that's what I tried to do with that conversation, and just trying to divulge exactly what they found and what they were going to try and pin on him. And it was incredibly complicated to understand because it was so edited, and it was just weak. I look at some of the shit that this guy has dodged in the past over these past 3.5 years that he's been in office, and I'm like, this is what they think they're going to get him with? This is going to get the impeachment through? I just don't see it happening. The number of bullets that he's dodged already far surpass a conversation with the Russians.
Yeah. But as long as they have the impeachment increase, they're not going to get the impeachment. They know that. But as long as they divide the nation, to keep that nation divided and split. Because right before this Ukrainian thing, there's a little settling down. We started talking with each other again. Now we want to cut each other's throat in a matter of an instant, coming through the impeachment. Because now they're going to threaten the liberty and the choice, and they're going to attack the Republic on one end and have us infighting again, giving the other end hope. So it is a way to divide the American populace. And that's what's disgusting. That's why I go back to the resist movement. It's what Hillary Clinton said at the Prophet. And that's the whole impeachment thing is. It's a way to divide the nation, to sit there and to blame on Donald Trump. It's him because he's racist. It's him because of the way that he talks. It's him because of this soundbite.
Yeah.
No.
And I think what it all boils down to...
Our very, very American liberty and our way of values and conservative values as a whole are completely under threat, undergone by what the liberals want to do. And that impeachment way is just to drive that right up, and just be a catalyst to it. And I believe that's why one of the reasons they're doing it. They don't want us unified. If we were unified as a nation, they'd be destroyed. They're in hospice. They're facing a death sentence right now. If the American public wakes up to the truth of the nature of how corrupt they've been, if Donald Trump's ready to really bring that to the surface, they're done for. And these people are fighting for their lives, and that's why they're ripping the country apart in the process. And that's why I believe the impeachment process is for. It's hiding. It's hiding the fact that they're working with other countries in this that don't have American interest in Americans in the best interest. It's working with the drug cartels in Mexico, pumping $850 billion in meth over the border. These are things which the American populace are not awakened to, that they do not want known. This comes out, that's it. They're going to hang these people in the streets. It's an establishment. It is what it is. And so I believe that the impeachment is just a way to keep the American populace divided and to keep their base from really awakening and understanding and giving them the opportunity to deflect and protect their position.
It's the American people, there needs to be some change. Something needs to give. Put all this shit aside. It really comes down to, we almost seem to be taking a step backwards now from the evolution of the unity of people. And I don't know if that's because of things like social media have given everyone a platform to speak their mind, which is great. But the problem is they're not speaking their mind. What's happening is they're following suit,
Yes.
It almost seems like whatever the consensus is what becomes true. And consensus does not always mean truth. It just means popularity, basically.
That's wanted to bring up, and that's wanted to bring up my position to thank you today for allowing me to have a voice.
Absolutely.
If you're going out there and the media is out there silencing people who could bring in the middle, who could bring there and have a voice and show different perspectives, how are we going to have anything but that London think tank on through? And it is what it is. And a lot of that I do blame on the media. I blame on social media, absolutely. And the fact that they have shadow banned, the fact that they have kept these voices to keep, because what they've done is they took America's round table of understanding and they freaking destroyed it. And they put it into the narrative to push whatever they want to by shadow banning, by amplifying, by pumping in this media, then discrediting that. There is no round table. There is no understanding. And it really takes really unique people to go out there, fight, and try to bond and do so. And it is what it is. You're talking to someone who does it every day, and it is an uphill battle consistently. Luckily, I'm someone, like I said, that admires adversity, and I love it, and I'm addicted to it.
Yeah.
But most people are not. And as you sit there, and that's what it is. We don't have that round table. The social media really has been gasoline for it as they torched a match on it and trying to push their agenda. So it is who it is. Whoever controls the flow of information controls whether or not we're going to heal the nation. Not the president, not anybody else. Whoever controls the flow of information will be devices on whether or not we're going to heal the nation. Because we need to have that communication. We need to have those bridges. We need to have those avenues of understanding. And as long as we're sitting here divided, there is no conversation going on. There's nothing but rationing up the hate. And that's what's wrong.
Kristy,
we can't have our shared ideas and to be able to educate, teach, and grow. And that's what's being taken away from the American populace. And all both sides, whether you're liberal, whether you're being conservative, we're being robbed for this doctrine from it. And that's what sucks.
Okay. Kristy, do you consider yourself to be a voice for the voiceless within the LGBTQ community or for the conservative community? I guess the question I'm trying to ask you, it's kind of a two-part question. One, do you feel like you represent that group as a whole? Do you feel like you have the ability to do that or should be considered someone that could do that? And the second part of that question is trans people, gay people, for the most part, in my experience, tend to be more liberal as far as in the masses. And if I'm wrong, excuse me, but that's what I've experienced in my life. So how did the people within your group feel about your opinions being so strong and so conservative and so supportive of someone that a lot of people in these groups just don't agree with? And I'm talking about Trump here.
Okay, let's answer your question, go back and break it to the first one.
Yeah.
I represent myself.
Right.
That I can do.
Right.
Now, as far as LGBT people, I'm LGBT, I'm proud to represent that. But one thing I want to represent is the political and ideological difference. There's a narrative out there that it's only on the left. And let me tell you, that's not true. Like I said, 38% of my community voted Republican in the last midterms. Like I said, anyone that doubts that, Google Wall Street Journal's electoral breakdown of the midterm elections. You'll find the article. The truth of the nature is I represent the conservative faction of the transgender movement. I am not anybody that represents the far left. I've been there. I'm leaving it. They can have that. I don't want it. I am someone who wants to teach America that we are different, that we are as diverse as humanity within itself. You can vote Republican and be trans. You can vote Democrat and be trans. You can love Jesus. You can hate Jesus and be trans. Being trans does not define your belief system as far as God and country.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is it is what it is. And that's the whole narrative I'm trying to say, again, that needs to be destroyed. And I apologize. The second part of your question was?
I was saying that people in the LGBTQ community seem to be more liberal. And
Yep.
I'm curious how they respond because a lot of people don't speak out like you do. So
a lot of I have gone to war with the liberal faction of my community. I have, and I challenge them every step of the way. And it is what it is. I would rather come to the round table and sit down and let's have these discussions about what really needs to be fixed in our community, meaning the drugs, the AIDS, the HIV, the way that we're being farmed, things of this nature. But the bottom line is these people are not ready to have that conversation until they take personal accountability. The division within the community of LGBT, and whether you are liberal or whether you're conservative, falls pretty much on self-accountability. Are you ready to take accountability for your own actions, your own life? Or are you going to go sit there, blame society, and go do your own life and get whatever you want? And that's what seems to be the division. There's a lot more conservative LGBT people out there than you know. And I'm proud to call these people friends. Many of them they're my support system in this nation. I love them dearly. You know, some of you who get in this gig, you've seen some of them march with me in the Straight Pride Parade in Boston.
Yeah,
we were proud to do so, to teach the world our political diversity. It is what it is. But as long, and it's, again, going back, and this is all wrapping into the whole social media narrative. That's what needs to be shattered. The bullshit needs to be shattered, and the truth needs to come out. That we are diverse, and as we get that diverse, and it's also going to feed into other things. The right and the conservative movement, non-acceptance will start to dissipate as more Christians stand up and defend liberty. If there's more people out there defending Christian values from the LGBT, what's that going to do to our social acceptance within the Christian conservative faction? That's going to help bring us. I believe that we will acclimate more into that section with understanding, with respect, by bringing shared values to society rather than sitting there and attacking it and putting them and blaming them for all the hardships. And it just is what it is. But the far left does hate us. They hate us. And again, it goes back to the whole thing. They thought they had control. They thought that the whole world was going to be gay, that the gay people, the LGBT was going to be rainbow and was going to paint the whole entire world rainbow and we're going to live in a whole new currency. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast. But it's not that, and it is what it is. So you're always going to have that diversity, and there may be more to go to the left because when you come out LGBT, you're going to go through that whole misunderstanding, those religious ideologies within your base that may not accept you.
right.
You're going to have that judgment, and that's part of coming out and being who you are. So are there issues within society where the right can change and grow? Absolutely. And I'm not saying that their position that's sitting there is wrong or right, but there is room to grow and there's room to acceptance. But the people that are going to grow the acceptance need to be in the middle, need to be from the LGBT who are teaching understanding, who are going to teach them, who are going to educate them. And that's the one thing I want to do in my lifetime is to educate as many as I can. It's okay to be trans, but love God. I mean, it is what it is. And when you see more of us standing up for God, it's going to be harder for them to hate us. The divide's going to change. It's going to shift. It's always fluid. It's not going to be just black and white, black and white. That's a narrative. That's if you have it black and white, you have two polarized ends. You can kick that political football back and forth. We need more people in the middle who are willing to step up, catch up ball, pull it down, and help bring it to the middle.
I think that everything you're saying is fantastic and all positive. I'm just curious if there are people in your group that are coming to you and saying, hey, you know, you're kind of the voice for us, whether you want to be or not, because you're the one that's standing up and actually saying, you know, but we feel like you might be delivering the wrong message. Do you get that do you get that? Or are you saying
I don't get so much more message because those who follow me or those that are friends know my technique. They know who I am. I'm kind of like the president, the way that I handle things very aggressively and very strong and very bluntly.
Yeah.
I'm fearless. My role in this is, as far as leadership, is to be the one who's going to step up and take the arrows for the rest. I don't fear the left. I don't have any fear for them. I'm hungry to rip away their control from the narrative, and I am, and my whole community knows that. And as I'm on that hungrily ripping apart that narrative, they come after me. I sent you a thing I know in our emails back and forth. The Antifa, Black Mass Antifa, named me one of the top people they want to take out.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. I love that. I pride myself on that. And they promote me. Go ahead and promote me, Antifa. You guys work for me, and I love that they're my bitch. But the truth is I'm the one who's going to stand up and take the arrows to the rest of them, so the rest can feel more comfortable, come through, step up, and start voicing their opinions. And I'm proud of that.
Well done.
That's what my place. Now, there are other people who have different voices, different opinions. They absolutely can, and I want them to have a bigger voice. I want my conservative peers to get out there and be able to keep up and have a voice like I do.
Yeah.
I want to protect them.
That's one of the great parts about being American.
Yep. So,
how do you? Sorry, go ahead, Paul.
A call to action, like for people who don't want to just swallow what is fed to them in the media, just liberals who just hear what people are saying and they kind of follow along with that. What call to action can you give to them so that they can educate themselves on the right without feeling like they're being racist or they're supporting a negative view?
The call to the left, to my left peers?
Yes.
The biggest thing I can say to my left peers is before we get to this political conversation, I want them to remember every one of their peers who died from the drugs. Every one of them. And everyone that's doing the drugs, when they sit down there in their hopeless and their forsakenness, I was there. I know what that felt like. You know, it's 2014. I had a gun on my mouth and I almost pulled the trigger. And I know what that felt like. To sit there and know what they're feeling is something I survived. So I'm not going to sit there and tell them I hate these people. I pray for them every day. And what I want them to do is I want them to really sit and think and just turn off the TV, turn off that bullshit narrative, and look at their lives. And ask themselves this question. Who is making money off their identity? Who is getting power off that? Where is that coming from and why? Where are these drugs coming from? What culture is supporting that lifestyle? And get in there and really start following those chains and find out where those chains are connected to. Because once you do, you're going to find out they're not connected to the conservative movement. They're connected to some deep, dark shit. And it's taken our peers away, it's killing them, and it's destroying their lives. It almost destroyed mine, and I survived it. And I'm proud to step up today, and I take those arrows because I survived the dark side of the rainbow. And on the flip side, I ask every conservative, whether they accept transgender or LGBT people, that they're truly Christian, that they're going to get there and they're going to pray. And they're going to love us. They will love, regardless they have to. I'm not asking them to accept their ideologies. But I'm asking them to love my community. And I'm asking them to pray for them every day, to hold a little more compassion for the hardships that they do go through, because that's on the flip end what the right needs to understand. Instead of just sitting there thinking that they're just that and drug addicts and that, there's a reason why they're there. And when they understand we can get the two ends to sit there, perhaps we can have some more healing in this, and some of our homes can build a bridge back together, because that's what needs to really happen. That's what I hope happens. And that we can both look at each other and really understand. And the left side, truly, I understand they have this vision that they can take this world. It's not going to happen. If you truly want to be accepted in this world, why can't we do it on the grounds of equal equality for all people? This is one thing the LGBT movement has preached for years. All equality, all inclusive. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had people out there threatening to rape me, throw piss at me, shit me, wanting to kill me when I marched to support free speech and true equality and marched in the Straight Pride Parade. You know, where is that true equality? Yes, we have had unique hardships, and that needs to be understood, and that has been understood, but it can be understood a lot better. But by going through and throwing piss and shit at conservatives and threatening to kill them, it's not going to build no bridge of understanding and betterment. If you really want to move in the future, let's bring it to the round table. Let's bring it to a place where we can find people who are willing to work in the middle, get those people together, and let's build a bridge. Because until then, we're going to have nothing but hatred and division in this nation. And I don't believe in that. I believe that we are better and we can be much better. And I'm asking my peers on the left to truly ask those questions, really follow their chains and find out where they lead to on their own. Because if they do that, they're going to be on my side.
Well said. And I hope that if anyone is watching this show right now or watches this podcast after the live stream ends, that they can take that away from this show and maybe bring that into their own lives and open their own hearts and find their own voice, formulate their own opinion. Don't follow the masses, whichever side of the fence you're on. That doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we're all people. We're just trying to live a happy life. That's it. That's the purpose of this podcast as well, is to give a voice to the voiceless. You know, we feel like we can lead a nation with a microphone by giving people like yourself the platform to speak from their heart, because I can clearly see, just getting to know you on the show and the 2 hours that we've been speaking, that you're a genuine person and you come from a good place. One thing I'd like to do, so thank you for that. I just like to say that now. Thank you, because I think your story is really inspiring. You've been through a lot, and to be where you are now, in this position, I think people can look at that and take something extremely good away from that, regardless of their political affiliation. You and I have differences on politics as well. I try not. I really wanted you to speak your piece, so I didn't really get into too much of my opinion. That's not the point here. But I think regardless of whether you're a Trump supporter, a liberal, a conservative, a Democrat, or whatever you are, at the end of the day, we all just want to live a peaceful, happy life and be able to do that without persecution from our peers. So one thing I wanted to do now, we have a couple questions that people had emailed us that we let know you were going to be on the show. Polly has them. So if that's okay with you, I'd like to read a couple of those off and then get your answer on that. Is that cool?
Absolutely. And to all viewers there, all of you, I want all your questions because I'd like to work to try to answer them. And you will always have, one thing about me to anybody listening is that you will always have my complete truth and transparency and the best answer I can give. So fire away.
So one question we had was about the straight pride parade that you participated in. Why did you feel that you needed to be there and support that?
The biggest and number one thing was that I wanted to support true equality in this country. And to go back into, I understand that LGBT has had unique struggles going through, but we have gone to a place where it's come to abuse on a conservative movement. And I absolutely feel that as an LGBT person, as I said, with the adoption of non-binary ideology, it has severely targeted a lot of people's belief systems in this nation. And so I don't see that as equality anymore. I see that as a need for understanding, growth, and again, coming back to the middle. And I wanted to defend free speech and true equality in this nation by marching. My other goal, which is just as important, was I wanted to get out there and I wanted to teach this nation that we are politically diverse. I wanted the nation to understand that the LGBT is not what the far left narrative says it is, that we are unique people who cover all grounds of ideologies and political affiliations, and that is what it is. And there's a lot of us in the LGBT that don't want anything that the far left is pushing for. We don't want this stuff, and the fact that we feel violated, we feel almost raped, that they're taking our identity and throwing it out there and bashing our communities with it. And that's the reason why I got up there and marched.
It's a wonderful reason.
Awesome. And that was the Straight Pride Parade?
Mm-hmm.
The Straight Pride Parade, yes. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll tell you, I never thought I would hear of a Straight Pride Parade, but that's kind of cool. Was that the first year they did that? Is that something new, or is
it's the first ever in the nation, and I look forward to it. I hope to be a guest speaker at the next one. But the bottom line is as far as the straight pride, I want to say it's straight pride, and the media didn't tell you this, because it's hard to tell. But it's hard to tell a gay person just by taking a picture of them.
Right.
But a good third of the marchers were LGBT.
Oh, really?
Conservative LGBT people. They're people, my friends from across the nation. A lot of them came in. We all marched to support straight pride. We were marching against, again, the political diversity of our community. We've had enough.
Yeah, it's a great message.
And that's what the media ain't going to tell you. Because we were there, we shielded it from being a true hate march into a free speech rally. And I'm proud of my peers. I absolutely am. That was a big win for the conservative movement. And I'm proud of my peers. And anybody out there listening, you guys are heroes. I love you. And it was fun. It really was a lot of fun.
Was there any?
It was a little scary.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, did anyone show up to the event and kind of protest what you guys were doing, or did you get any kind of adversity to it, or?
I had people on the side. The cops are phenomenal. And first thing, anybody watching, I want to say, and I give a lot of props, and I have a lot of respect for police officers, but the Boston police officers, the Boston police force were absolutely fantastic.
They
kept us safe. They kept anything major from happening. They were Portland, Oregon really needs to start taking notes from Boston because they were phenomenal. But it was at first it was fun. The media came in and they bombarded me, and that was kind of cool. And then we started marching, and and a lot of the marchers were people I've met before. So it was a lot of fun being able to connect with them and going with them. And so as we were marching down the street, though, you seen the crowds on the side, and the crowds were a mixture of supporters and haters. But towards the end, it started turning more into the hate. And that was kind of scary part. I had people on the sidelines tell me that when I get out of here, they wanted to rape me. I had people tell me they wanted to kill me. I had Antifa coming up, asking for my pictures, telling me they were going to dox me, everything. And the one thing I don't care if they dox me. And the one thing that makes me a very dangerous political operative is my past. I was, like I said, I was a transgender adult promoter and number one in FetLife. I own half the classic keys of these Antifa people out there protesting me. So, it is what it is. You want to come at me, I'm going to just go ahead. I'll just post a picture of you in women's underwear. It is what it is. So I don't care. I'm going to stand up to these people and challenge them. And but they were threatening. They were threatening our lives. They were threatening to kill us. There was a time when there was a moment where, let's say about 15 people at the same time bum rushed the police line to come get us. So it was a little nerve wracking. But you know what? If the crowd was 5 pounds the size, I'd still do it. And I'm not afraid. I'm gonna stand up for what I believe in, and I'm proud that I did. And I'm proud of everybody that stood up to Straight Pride. It was a phenomenal time. One of my favorite conservative people is Milo. Would be able to meet Milo and to share with him was a phenomenal experience.
Milo Yiannopoulos?
And, yep.
He was banned from YouTube and I think Twitter. He got that cancel culture bug.
Yeah.
Right? I think it had something to do with him actually talking about his past and his priest or whatever that or something. He had a sexual experience with a man when he was underage, and he talked about that, and that's just his personal experience. And that brought him to all the scrutiny and then ended up basically sort of dissolving into the ether.
Yep. They'll silence anyone for any way that they can. And it doesn't matter. They'll do any excuse. I'm waiting for the left to go out there and show some of my videos from my past. I hope they do, and only promote my message. But the truth of the nature is, it is what it is. They'll go after and they're going to silence anyone who's going against their narrative because it's going to affect a lot of things. There's a lot of power in driving the Rainbow Plantation. The Rainbow Mafia, how much money are these politicians making off it, too? It is what it is. And anybody who stands up against the narrative is going to be censored.
Yeah.
And including me. I was censored long before the rest of the conservatives were. I was trying to tell you guys 2 years ago what was going to happen. And it just is what it is. I mean, I can show you back in 2015-16, like I said, the minute I swapped coming out to conservative America or Trump.
Yeah.
Done.
I'll tell you this. Sorry, go ahead.
It's funny you would mention censorship because we kind of experienced a little bit of that.
Yeah, I was just about to
earlier.
say. Yeah, I know.
I was having difficulty promoting this show. Actually, I couldn't do it unless I signed up with my ID and some information just to promote the show. And then Moshe posted on his social media.
And I lost just by promoting your episode.
Just your episode.
And using the thumbnail that I chose to use, which was you with the Trump 2020 flag. I lost, I think it was 30 followers or 32 followers.
Which is crazy.
Just because of that post. Which I'm fine with. I don't care. I mean, if I'm going to lose followers because I choose to have someone on my show that I find interesting and intriguing, so be it.
But what is your workaround? Like when you are getting censored, how do you
still
get your message out? Because we want to inform people. We want to keep their minds open. So how do you work around
And
that?
this is where it brought me to today. And today you guys are absolutely heroes to me. What they did, and if you look behind me, this is the flag that I had signed that flew at the Walkaway March back in November. Millions of people saw this sign give the big bird to the Democratic Party as I marched in the Walkaway March where Brandon Stark and the rest of the Walkaway campaign. These people are my friends. These people are my community, and I'm proud to march with them. I've had them sign that. I had them sign that, speaking at Trump International Hotel as the last speaker, and they came up, and that was a welcome to the transgender community from some of the most prominent Republicans in this nation have welcomed to true equality and to come to the table, and they have signed this. What I've done is I've gone across the country to different political events, and I've made myself my person. They can't silence my person. So I've gone through and I've got on other media doing that. And I've been able to go through and bypass the censorship by spending my money, going across the country and doing what I got to do. Like my car. My car says MAGA TS. I've got Donald Trump on the back. I got the flag in the back, Trump whatnot. I bought it 2 months ago. I've already got 15,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
I am going through. I don't know how many people taking selfies of it. That's how you bypass it. By standing up, by being brave. I am what they want censored when they first came out. Like I said in this whole conversation earlier, they're trying to censor, trying to shame it. The more they do it, the taller I stand. What I do is I go around and I ask everyone, everybody who watches me right now, all of you, my content on my Facebook, my Instagram, whatever I put out there is not my content. That is public content. This is for a content. This is for a movement. This is for what I believe in. This is not about self-promotion.
Right.
Whether or not you want to take what I say, you can rewrap it into your own picture, put it out there, and put it out there. It's the information that's more important. So I'm asking everyone out there to screenshot, to go through, and I always ask my base to go through and to do that, because doing that helps me break through my muzzle to get this message out there. Because what I speak about is what they don't want heard. And to be able to get out there and teach at diversity, teach these lessons, to go out and speak what I have to say is very important. So that's how I bypass it. I go through and I meet one-on-one. I will go through to any march what I can get to, or conservative group or things of this nature, to go through and to be able to get exposure and to be able to bring the message that way, because I can't on my Facebook no more. I'm just going to speak into an echo chamber. Twitter I'm banned from. I can't get on FetLife. It is what it is. I'm very lucky. There are some websites out there, and I'm not going to name them, from Michael and Adult Pass, things of this nature. I'm going to tell you right now, I have the most G-rated accounts on many adult media platforms. They let me have a voice. And
well, we're happy to have you here on this show.
It is what it is. And I get a lot of people like, wow, yeah. And so to be able to go in different unique avenues to get out there and get the word out, I've been very effective. But as far as the main ones, no. So like I said, that flag, I go out there and I like to go to different rallies, different events, and those that most certainly I can go to, that's what I'll do. Like at the 4th of July, I was there. I was my trans flag, my Trump flag, walking around among thousands. The Straight Pride Parade, the Walkaway campaign, things of that nature. And I want to be involved with more. And on top of that, the other thing I do to get more exposure is my friends. I get on them to help them. I have a lot of friends throughout the Walkaway movement, which have been very successful in helping me as well. And I'm kind of been a lot of fun. I've been able to meet a lot of them off my social media, and I've been traveling around the nation and getting to spend some time with a lot of them. Mm-hmm. And these people are not just fellow, political activists. These are people becoming my friends, and I absolutely love them. And it's not just the political activism; it's also the Christian activism. I love Christian America. I really do. They hit Christian rock music, so concerts. As a transgender person, is amazing. You go out there, you make friends, you mingle, and to be able to do that, it's in my unique personality as a transgender woman, and me being so extroverted brings a lot of attention. I'm able to get on other people's media to bypass through that. And that's what's been able to keep me survive, to be able to fight through, to get the message to where I'm now today, and hopefully growing. Awesome. And I want to thank you guys personally. A big, big thank you for tonight.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Now, were there any other questions from
No, I think she answered everything.
Okay. All right. Well, Kristy, before we go, I want to give you the opportunity now to just let people know what you have going on. If you have anything coming up, if you want to shout out your social media, what's left of it. I know we talked a lot about censorship and stuff, but if you want to drop your Instagram handle, Twitter, whatever you want, and basically the stage is yours. Let people know what you got going on. Like I said, after this episode airs, we're going to break this out into lots of mini clips, and we will be promoting this episode for some time to come. So please take the time now to just let us know what you got going on.
Okay, like I said, mostly it's not about self-promotion. My media is destroyed anyhow. But I'd like you. My Facebook is Kristy Greczkowski, GRECZKOWSKI. And if you find me there, that's the main platform that I use to communicate with. And if you want to find me there, most certainly that's the best. I also an Instagram account would be my second really that I use for social media, and my handle is Trans for Trump. That's TRANS for Trump 2020, and most certainly communicate with me there. But the biggest thing I want to take from this, and I hope, and I'm going to ask my personal base, is from this conversation tonight. I want you to go on to the Collective podcast and to share this podcast. I'm going to ask every one of those that believe in me to get out there and showcase this, because this to me is an audition for the rest of the media. I want to be on other media platforms, educating Christian conservative America on what we spoke of tonight and more. I want to be able to answer your questions. I want to be a resource for you to help protect your liberty. So if there's any message I can get out there, so I'm going to ask them to please share this episode far and wide.
and as far as they can, so that it is what it is. I would like to be able to speak more on other platforms as well. Like I said, you guys have been a very this is a launch podcast for me, and I hope to God that this also will bring to you guys a great big wealth of exposure. And again, I'm personally asking my base that believes in me to go out there and share this. My goal is to be on more media, and I also want to be able to speak at more events. And this is something that I would like to do, to step up and to defend Christian conservative America from what I believe is wrong. And
Awesome.
It is what it is. And so that's what I ask. And to every one of you out there that do believe in me, that do share my content, that do support me, those that pray for me, those that support me in every aspect of my life, I love you. And I want to thank you. And again, it is what it is. I just want to say and close out with 3 words, which are most important to me. That's God bless America. All right.
And
thank
God bless you,
all of
Kristy. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. We really appreciate it.
We do.
And
Thank
we
you.
just want to ask anyone who's chiming in right now or in the future, please make sure to subscribe and comment and like our show, because we have a lot more to come. And Kristy, I just want to thank you again for being such an amazing guest tonight. You really brought it, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, you guys are amazing too. You have a thin leg, and you trust I'm going to be helping you multiply that 30 you lost. Thank you guys. You guys are awesome.
Thank you so much.
I'm always open to any questions you guys have or anything I can ever happen. You guys got my number. Yeah, I'm an open book. I made a friend tonight.
We'd love to have you back
Thank
in the
you.
future as well.
Take care.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right.
Bye.
Cheers.
All right.
Thank you, Kristy. Bye-bye.
All right, bye, everybody.
All right. Thanks, guys. That's Human Collective. We will see you again next week. We're shooting for Wednesday for our next guest, but Polly and I always do a Monday and Friday episode. We try to make a Friday and Monday episode. So
always happen.
we'll bring those to you. But anyway, thanks again for watching this episode, and we hope to see you again on the Human
Human
Collective. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.